What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on the channel today. I'm so excited to show you the new car. I know I've been keeping you guys in suspense, but before I reveal it, I want to make a couple things clear. Number one, the Mustang is not going anywhere. That'll still be my primary drift car, especially for competitions or big drift demo events. If you've been here long enough, you might remember when the Mustang was silver. It was my daily driver back in January 2019 when I first got it. And I've slowly done more and more drifting events with it, including 2 full DriftWeek tours and 2 partial tours. We used to drive it around with this little mini trailer that's folded up behind me to and from events as far as Winter Jam in Sonoma, which is about 6 to 8 hours from Los Angeles. The car was super fun even when it was stock, but has slowly become more and more race car. So it's become more and more demanding of me, my team, my finances, my time, and it is a ton of fun, but it is a ton of work. We spend 1 or 2 weekends before and 1 or 2 weekends after every event getting the car ready, making repairs because of what we did at that event. Some days I just want a little bit of fun for a little bit less work, and that's the main idea behind the new car. I've been keeping you guys in the dark about the new car because honestly I had a little bit of buyer's remorse when I first got it. I also wanted to break it in a little bit, start modifying it, make sure I really liked it before I wanted to show it off. I'm finally ready. I finally got to take the car out for its first shakedown, modify it a little bit, so I am stoked to finally show you guys my new GR86. I know a lot of you were probably hoping for another Mustang, but let me explain. Number one, I'm not sponsored by Ford, and I'm not a big part of a team that is tied to the manufacturer. If someone wants to change that, let your boy know. Excuse me. If that becomes the case, we can totally reshoot this entire video and delete this one. But for right now, I gotta work within my own means and take care of my own budget, my own time, and do what makes the most sense at the time to improve my program and my driving. There are a lot of factors that I weighed in deciding what my next car would be, so let's get into it. I should mention most Mustangs still make great drift cars. This argument really isn't a better or worse as much as it is an apples versus oranges debate. I already have a Mustang, and so the 86 offered something more different, lower in horsepower and lower in weight, which would hopefully translate better habits into my competition driving in my Mustang. I did also consider Fox bodies like my buddy over at Pack Performance drives to stay more on brand and because again, they're lighter. But thanks to guys like Chelsea, Fox bodies have gotten pretty expensive for what they are. Plus I had some other plans for what I want to do with the car that we'll get into later in this video. I also want to take a moment to recognize how big Ford and Toyota are within the drifting world. There are definitely other manufacturers that help the sport along, but I don't think anybody compares to how much Ford and Toyota invest into their active footprint within the drifting community, whether it's on the field at events like Formula Drift or their activations at those events and their branding towards drift enthusiasts. These two brands are clearly trying to push drifting further and actively thinking about the drift community when they're building their new cars. So I'm stoked to be a driver representing not one, but 2 manufacturers that help push forward the sport that I love so much. Personally, I've had way better luck with new cars versus used cars, especially in my drift cars. I'm a big advocate for proper break-in procedure, early maintenance. If you guys have seen my driving, you know it's not because I'm pussyfooting around. I definitely drive my cars 110% when I'm on track. I really think that the early extra attention I give my cars goes a long way and pays dividends for later in its life. Naturally, the new Mustang S650 was a big contender on my list, but that's part of the problem. It's big in more than one way. I know, this GR86 rear end looks thick, but the Mustangs got this thing beat by almost 1,000 pounds. This thing only weighs 2,800 pounds from the factory. The new Mustangs weigh 36 to 38 or as much as 3,900 pounds. That's gonna make a big difference in how the car drives. Granted, these rear wheels are only seeing about 200, 228 horsepower, where the Mustang makes 400 to 500 horsepower to the wheels, depending on how you modify them. But it's got to push 1,000 pounds more. The less weight and less power in the 86 means that it should run more laps with fewer tires and fewer consumables, overall making my drifting a little bit cheaper and more efficient, which is really kind of the concept with this car. Let's talk about price tag. A new S650 would have run me $50,000 to $60,000 with the specs that I would have wanted. Premium package and performance package, which is the same as what this car has got from Toyota, but this 86 only cost me about $34,000. We're talking about $20,000 on the table for modifications, maintenance, and keeping this thing on the track. Again, I love driving my Mustang at competition and big demos and doing the full tilt race car thing. Just remember, a lot of fun, a lot of work, which also means a lot of money. Some days, I just don't want to spend as much money and time on getting to having my fun. Going back to what I said originally, the Mustangs are way bigger than the 86 in physical size, especially length. They're about 2 feet longer than the GR86, which make it a little bit more challenging to drive, which is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy that. But again, sometimes you want to work a little less hard for your fun. I've also really started to enjoy letting my friends drive my car. As fun as it is for me to watch my friends struggle to drive the Mustang, I think I'd also enjoy watching them be thrilled driving something a little easier like this 86. If I had to get rid of my S550 and just have one car to kind of do it all between daily and drifting, I'd probably suck it up and just get a new S650, but that's just not the case. I felt for casual drifting that's a little bit more different than my comp car, the 86 was a great answer. You could also make the argument that driving something more similar to your competition car might have more carryover to competition driving. And that's definitely true. But if you look at a lot of the greatest drivers, you'll see that they drive anything and everything. So I felt like having a different car than my competition car might actually help me develop as a driver more than just sticking to something that I already know really well. That being said, I am kind of familiar with the 86 platform. If you've been here since my real beginnings, then you'll remember I actually started drifting in a 2013 Scion FRS. I leased that car as a gift to myself for getting into my medical training while I was living in the Bronx. I started drifting that car at E-Town with Club Loose. The rest is kind of history. My history in that previous 86 chassis should help me get up to speed in this one a little bit faster. Anyway, in summary, the reason I chose this car is because it's different than my competition car. It should be cheaper to run and a little bit more efficient for having my fun per mile or fun per dollar. Let me tell you a little bit about how I picked up this car and what our plans are for this year with this car. Again, it's a 2024 GR86. I got it murdered out. It came with the performance package and the premium package, which means it came with bigger wheels, a little bit of a bigger duckbill spoiler in the back, and something that I care more about, bigger brakes. I know in drifting we don't really need brakes, but one of my plans for 2025 is to get into grip racing a little bit. And this car was a great candidate for that, so having those bigger brakes with the performance package made a lot of sense. The performance package also came with better Sachs dampers, which feel great, and I look forward to comparing them to BC coilovers, which we actually have sitting behind the camera already, which I know is going to be better for drifting, but I'm looking forward to comparing what Toyota brought to the table. The theme of the car, like you can see, is basically paint it black, murder it out. It came with black wheels, but we upgraded to these Avid AVO 6 in gloss black, which I think really set the car off. We also added some carbon bits, including our front lip from Street Hunter Designs. You would probably think from watching my drifting that I love really loud cars. That's partially true. The Mustang being as loud as it is an advantage because I can hear my engine over my competitors' engines, and the fans seem to enjoy it. This car, on the other hand, is completely silent. I honestly can't even tell when it's on, so I want to give a big shout out to AWE for sending us their touring catback exhaust, which should wake this thing up and at least sound a little bit better than a Prius. Going with that blacked out theme, I also had Templar wraps paint the brake calipers gloss black with silver and gray lettering. The car was a lot of fun at its first impromptu shakedown at Orange Show Speedway, thanks to Flavor Express. That being said, I definitely want a little bit more power in the car. I don't know when we'll do it, but let me know in the comments what you think we should do with the car. Full bolt-ons, keep it NA, or boost it. Turbo, supercharger. I want to hear what you guys think. I plan to do another few videos with this car, showing how to prepare for your first drift day in a car like this, as well as show you some of the products that I'll be adding to the car to make it better for my purposes. So leave a comment on what you want to see this car do and what you want to see more from me. As always, like and subscribe if you want to support the channel. Thanks again for joining us, and thank you again to the partners that have already hopped on board with me in this GR86. Catch you guys on the next one.